Did you realize that a lot of people are Euro nymphers and they don't even realize it? The Spanish bullet in the olive color is one of the best dropper flies on the planet. And guess what? It's a Euro nymph. So if you're dropping this under a chubby, guess what? You're Euro nymphing. Guess what? We're going to show you how to tie it.
That's a big brown.
This is a really popular fly on the South Fork of the Snake, the Henry's Fork, and it's just a good general dropper pattern to put under a big chubby or an indicator or something like that. It's the Spanish bullet in the olive coloration, and it calls for a copper bead. You can use copper, rose gold, any of those types of colors. All the different companies have a different copper as well, so mess with those. This one's kind of a lighter one. The thread that I'm using is pretty cool. It's the pale olive. Let's see, pale olive. There you go. Pale olive 12/0 from Semperfli. It's roughly a 70 denier thread, and this one will give the color we're looking for once we put resin on it. So just like any Perdigon, that's what this one is. That's what a bullet means in Spanish, Perdigon, or pellet, bullet, something like that. So we're going to throw on some Coq de Leon for the tails, just like 4 or 5 fibers. Some guys will only do 2 or 3. I'm firmly on team 4 or 5. So, yeah, we don't need to debate that. Shorty tail, I'm going to twist my thread counterclockwise to flatten it out a little bit. And that's what I'm going to use to just wrap that up the body. Now, I think on the original pattern it calls for a stripped quill. But on the ones in the bins, you can never see the segmentation. So I just do them with just plain thread, and they work great. So I'm just going to take this and taper it. Now, tapering Perdigons, some people say keep them really thin. I like to taper them different amounts based on how big the bead is. So maybe a little bit more taper with a bigger bead to make it look, not quite so weird. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my thread all the way to the back, and I'm just going to twist up my thread a little bit and make a little bit of a rib. So I'm twisting my thread counterclockwise. Sorry, I put my finger here so that it won't slide around when I'm twisting it up. So I've corded up my thread, and I'm just going to make a really faint rib. Once I'm up here, I'll unwind it, and then I'm going to attach some black thread. Now, when you have 2 pieces of thread and you're changing from thread to thread, I'm just going to attach the black thread right in front of this one, right? Let's see, I'll trim that. Got 2 hanging there. And then if you just twist them like this, you can kind of see that happening. That just tied off your thread. Now just wrap it a little bit, and you can nuke your olive thread. So the black portion of this fly only goes about that far back. So, and over the top of the black portion, there's a little strip of flash. So I'm going to take out some medium-sized tinsel. You can use whatever brand you like. I'm using Vivus. And I'm just going to make a stripe right directly back from the slot. Cover that up. And then, you know the drill, we're just tying that piece of flash off. And then I like to fold it back down on top of itself. And that gives us a clean tie-in. With these Renomed scissors, I can get in and just barely grab the tag of that flash, or the corner, and then just rip the rest off. And it's a pretty clean tie-in. From here, I'll just throw on a real minimal whip finish, because now we're going to coat it with resin. Now, the really thin resins like Loon Flow and Bone Dry are not my favorite for Perdigons because they're too runny. You want something that's just barely thick enough to be able to form a glass smooth body without having your resin run all over the place. So this is a good one. This is the Solarez Thin, and I'll just kind of get it started. Just using the tip of the bottle. So once we're here, now I can rotate this and you can see how perfect that body goes. I'm just going to hold the light underneath it while it's on, and now I can just hold it one side this way, one side, and boom, there you have it. Very, very clean Spanish bullet.